As a new mom, just having gone through the process of appointing someone to look after my precious babies, it came to my attention that many people don't know what you need to do when you're appointing or employing a nanny or a domestic worker. Just as when you're appointing someone in your business, there are certain formalities that you have to go through. The very first one is that you need to make sure that you have a written employment agreement with your domestic worker or your nanny. The Department of Labour recently in a blitz found that 48% of employers don't do this. It's a requirement in terms of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. You have to have an employment agreement with your domestic worker. And I know that's something that's just another administrative burden, especially if suddenly you're going back to work, you need an employment agreement for your nanny, and you stretch thin as it is. We try and make this really easy at Law Unlocked. There's a very detailed, comprehensive agreement that's available on our site. Simply click on Domestic Worker Employment Agreement, and it'll take you through question by question everything you need to think about when you're appointing and employing a domestic worker. So in addition to having a written employment agreement, which is really important, I mean, it's the Department of Labour can do an inspection, you're liable for big fines if you don't have that in place, and also it's just good common sense to make sure that the terms in which you've appointed someone is in place and that they know where they stand and you know where you stand. So let's look at what else you need after you've entered into that written employment agreement. The first thing is you need to make sure that you're issuing a payslip every month. I know that's something many of us don't get to. It's another administrative burden, but you do need to do it in terms of the law. A useful thing to do is to appoint a consultancy or a company that does UIF and PAYE payments, and they'll issue that payslip for you every month. I know it's a massive administrative hassle to get someone registered at SARS, but it's law. You have to do it. So you need to register it for tax, obviously if they're earning over the threshold, and you must always be paying your UIF contributions. So after you've registered for your employee for tax and UIF, make sure that you are paying those contributions. And having gone through the hassle of trying to do that myself, I'd recommend doing a quick Google search and getting a company to assist you with those payments. They'll also issue with the payslip every month, which is great. You can just print it and hand it over to your nanny or domestic worker. The next thing you need to do is make sure that you are actually giving your nanny or domestic worker enough time to have a meal. Then they are entitled to 30 minutes after every 5 hours of work. Please make sure that they get a chance to just grab a bite to eat. In addition, remember you are not allowed in terms of the law to make any deductions for breakages, work clothes or meals provided. In addition, if you are providing accommodation to your domestic worker, you may not deduct more than 10% of the agreed salary for accommodation costs. These rules are to ensure that your domestic worker or nanny isn't exploited, and they're quite sensible. Remember that if a public holiday falls on the day that your nanny or cleaning lady is meant to come and work for you, they are not required to work and they are entitled to a full day's pay. That's what the law says around public holidays. We all get that in our corporate jobs and they're entitled to that in your house. In addition to that, remember, if you do need them to come and work on a public holiday, they're entitled to double pay. So I think that covers the basic musts and mustn'ts around hiring a domestic worker. Remember, the really important things are register for PAYE if applicable and always UIF. Make sure you're handing over pay slips and get a comprehensive, detailed employment agreement in place that outlines everything, all the obligations and everything you want that person to do and to be cognizant of. Let's be fair, it's a damn hard job. Who would want to scrub and clean floors and polish and look after children 45 hours a week for the minimum wage of 2,545 Rand? That's the minimum wage for domestic workers in the cities. It goes even lower than that in rural areas. So let's be fair, let's make sure we treat them well, and they're looking after your precious children. Don't shortchange them.